Hey everybody, it's some showtime. So I've got two windows open here. If you haven't been following along, we've been killing ourselves the last 2 days working on this Polymer app. And by 2 days, I mean several months of work all culminated together finally. So what we're building is a way for students and faculty to kind of collaborate on projects in a single space. So the faculty, if you imagine, has built out this listing of, hey, these are the things you need to do. And so that I could then, as a student, look quickly and realize that I'm on task, right? Because there's a lot of submissions to this project. So first thing is, at a glance, you can see there's multiple projects. And then I have kind of this project board with my status shown to me. So the check marks imply that I have submitted something successfully. The warnings are that I need to do something with that. And I don't have anything that's not submitted. I'll show a dashboard in a bit where I have things not submitted. So then I could click to one of these, and you see I get an overview of, if you imagine this had the content from their thing, I'll go to one that does, but it has the title of my submission, in this case, the fact that it has 6 comments, the little flag indicating, hey, they're all new. I can jump to view this submission, or I could toggle the state, if it's not ready to review. So we trying to do this from multiple locations to kind of blend together what is lots of different pages of an application into one, so that I'm working with this submission. And when I first start working with it, it's in this submission in progress state. Now what just happened there is a bajillion lines of work. So clicking that button triggers an event on the back end to update the listing of all of my projects, while simultaneously refreshing the fact that this status changed. So there's no save, it just did, right? And it's reflected everywhere. So if I was like, oh shoot, that one's not ready to go, that I could bounce it back to the not ready to go state. If I refresh the page, which I'm not supposed to when I'm working with it, hey, it's still there and it's kept it. So just to show it's pervasive. So let's find one that has some directions in it. I can't remember which of these do. They might not. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that this might be like the directions of the submission, right? We still need to clean up the heads-up display of what's on this bar. The view submission button, the interesting thing with that, I'm going to pull over a different user account here. We'll show, okay, so this was from perspective of a different user. In this case, it's an admin user, but the important thing is just a user that hasn't submitted everything. So I would see, as I'm working through, I did this. You can also see, in this instance, I have more options because I'm an administrator user. So I technically could delete projects. I could edit this project. I could delete this, or delete this assignment, edit this assignment, etc. So I could also complete them too if I really wanted to. So I could do the same thing, kind of participate with my students, mark its submissions in progress. Right, so I think it's just, it had data, but then I refreshed something. So there we go. Okay, so say there shouldn't be anything on here. So this is what they would see, day one, there's nothing, right? They have stuff to work on. I could click on this and you'll see that button previously, for one, there's no title of my submission, indicates the state still visually, lets me read about it, and there's this submission not started, which I can't toggle this. So it's kind of using some of the Polymer states of things, and then gives me an explanation, hey, you didn't submit anything for this yet. That button that previously had my submission is now a create submission. And one of the cool things Michael Potter did is this button is actually doing an AJAX lookup to see if they've submitted it. So if they have, then you get the button we saw previously, that if I go to my thing here, you get view submission. It's actually doing an AJAX call to figure out if it should be presented as a link to their submission or if it's creating. Now, another fun thing with this, if I create this submission, it actually bounces the message back and goes, oh, okay, cool. So we created a stub submission for you to get started, and now you can start working on it. So I've got, in this case, it's pre-populated submission 61. For assignment 61, I'd probably make this my own thing. There's a minor illustration of two-way data binding. Then I'm going to write some stuff, things and stuff. But one of the things we hate about everything, text editor-wise, is I don't know what I'm writing, actually. For one, we've trimmed it down to use Markdown, which is a simple lesson as to what the heck Markdown is. It's just a lot cleaner as far as adding links to things if they were to link to another project space. Another thing that Mike put in place is this awesome split pane. So I can do preview and see exactly what it is that I'm going to be submitting in that case. Or I can hit split view and watch both in real time. Or sorry, watch both in real time. Again, some trickery with two-way data binding. That's all well and good. How about media? Right, so obviously we want to submit more than text. So we've got support for images, for links, and for video. And I know that images and video work. We'll have files in a moment as well. So let's do video. If I did a YouTube URL, it will detect what the player was. So if it was YouTube or Vimeo, it actually detects. I don't have a Vimeo video queued up, but it detects it and then puts it in place there so that that's ready to go. I can then also take images. In this case, hey, add images. We've got upload a whole bunch of images. So let's go to a trip from Alaska. See my little guy when he was young. All right, we uploaded them all. See how difficult that was. Oh gosh. So what that actually did is it uploaded all the files. This, I assure you, is still Drupal. It sure as heck don't feel like it though, I bet. If I want to use that above, or like say I screwed up, like I don't really want this one, that picture's blurry, I hit delete, and that actually just went and did a REST call and killed it from the server. But let's say I'm doing a submission and I want to reference one of these, right? Like this adorable picture of this guy. I could click this and it'll generate, we need the workflow to be a little cleaner here, but it'll generate the correct markdown that I can throw in here. And you see I get it again in real time, which is pretty cool. So if I wanted to, maybe I upload a bunch of my work, but I'm actually writing and kind of have to talk about whatever it is, I can still do that in this way. So I can go down and you see we have save draft, which is the state it's in currently. That's kind of what this yellow state indicator is, if you will, and the kind of, hey, you have to do something still to participate with this. The reason we have two-step is a lot of times when you're doing media creation and submission online, you're not doing it all at once, right? So I would probably I'd find the submission, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to start this, and then be like, oh, geez, I have a lot of work to do. It's a very common mental use case. So I might go, okay, well, let's save this draft. All right, so I saved the draft, and what it did is now it's presenting my work, but you see it's in submission in progress, still cleaning up some of these little things around the edges. So this is my work. I can then, jump these up if this is kind of what someone else would see, right? So they've seen my work as I've presented myself here, and I've got my video submitted with my video player there as well. Now we need a button for this, but I could go back into edit mode, which is just path edit, and then let's say I did publish to Studio. That's going to mark it ready instead of the previous state, so that now if I go to my dashboard of, hey, what do I have to work on? You can see that's now marked green to indicate that I have it ready. If I set this back to submission progress, I jump over to my submission because I want to check it out. You can see submission in progress is the state, and it's bringing that along. I don't know why the color is that. I have to make the color be different there. But another thing, I just got this working, which is why I bother recording, is comments. So let's skip over to our student user, who I know had one in here that had a bunch of comments on it. Let's see if we can find them. Okay, that one. So it'd be another little data point that might be nice to visualize on here is how many comments something has. So I can see, hey, there's 6 comments. I'm going to flip this over to ready, hit view submission, and you see I get the submission that was in place, right? So all that over there, and then I get the comments in question. So these are threaded comments so that people can have a discussion about my work. And you can see that I wrote this little comment here before. Let's see, let's save the date. So I can reply to this one. Let's see, student said, things and stuff. Right, again, little mini markdown editor so you could leave some feedback. Nothing crazy. I'm gonna hit save. And that actually saved Drupal comment entity. So now what I'm going to do, I'll copy this address over into my admin user, and we'll see there's the thing the student said, and then I'm like that, which currently doesn't actually save that status. I need to update that. Obviously you have some little theme things and spacing we need to work on. I can edit that because I'm the admin user. Now if I go back to the other window, you'll see the student user can't edit the admin stuff, obviously. They can't like their own stuff either, so sorry, you can't inflate your ego here. And similarly in reverse, right, the admin can edit the admin stuff and can delete the admin stuff, and actually can delete the student stuff, but I can't like my own things. Now I can edit this. Change looks like, right, save. Okay, that actually just saved and updated. We can go back over to the student display and we'll see that that's the case. This is what a change looks like. I could also go and delete it. So if I delete it, we get confirmation mode. Are you sure you want to delete? Hit accept, it's gone. And go back over here and refresh, and we'll see, sure enough, it's gone. The other neat little thing going on with this particular aspect, if I delete this, and we'll delete these, and delete, and delete, and delete, you'll notice that this number is changing in real time. So that's a two-way data binding to the comments quote-unquote array, which is pretty awesome. So if I add a comment, you see it increments. Now it hasn't gone to the server to do the incrementing. It's actually done a post behind the scenes. If we hit inspect, we can see in network here with XHR. So I'm going to type stuff, and we'll see a call go out the door. Save. You see a call goes out the door securely with our token. I'm going to reply to that one, which then makes a request to create a stub comment. That's kind of the methodology we're following, is whenever you ask the system to do something, we basically make a placeholder. It's just a lot easier to account for constantly updating stuff and making placeholders than it is to do some kind of give me all the possible fields type of a request, which is kind of a pain in the butt when you're working with nodes or any entity system, Drupal or not. So this is my comment, and then we'll watch the data go back out the door. You can see, hey, that's at 35, so we get it out on a nice consistent API paths that relates this comment back not only to submission 102, but also to, in this case, comment 34. So I just created two comments there. I could go over to my student user here, things and stuff, and reply, and have a little two-way conversation with myself. A new comment gets added to the bottom. And go back over here. Watch the initial calls go out the door, right? So this is kind of our apps-based approach to development here. So the panel on the right is its own app, both in Polymer and in Drupal wiring. And then on the left with this comments is another app. And so we've been able to develop things in these little pieces that start at design elements and then work their way up, such that then we can just start stacking all these concepts on top of each other. If you've seen any of the stuff we've been doing with Polymer, the Polymer apps integration with Drupal, this stuff is incredibly clean as far as us getting it integrated into Drupal, and basically just using Drupal as a headless backend, which it kicks butt at. Things and stuff, right? So I can edit and do whatever I want to these based on my role. Then we're still working, extending out from there, right? We need like an edit state. We need to do a little bit of permissions checking. As far as on the presentation layer, it's actually doing all of the correct permissions modifications behind the scenes, which is the important part. But as far as, there should be an edit button here, and there isn't an edit button. It's something, silly. Obviously, stitching together the workflows a little bit better, doing some user, some UX testing, getting feedback is right. Some minor theme styling issues as far as like placement of things, which still needs to be done. But ton of progress so far. The other thing would be that we would have kind of like recent, this is another one-page app, if you will, and this wouldn't obviously just say recent comments. It would probably put it on like an overview, so it would actually have like a dashboard of things, which right now doesn't say anything. It's just a goofy little, to get it there kind of a deal. But that you could also find other people's work. And so if we loaded up the Open Studio, which is kind of the concept that we're going for, is we have this open arts and design studio. So, you know, we have our submissions made by people, and that we get this kind of overview info, and then we start to stitch this together with the other aspects of it. And this kind of leads off on, you know, where we're heading with it, but aren't there fully yet, right? It hasn't presented my video, but my images are clearly there, right? It just like hasn't refreshed the order that they're displayed in or something. So a lot of progress made for, you know, 2 days of getting everything stitched together and designed, but it's starting to shape up pretty quickly. It's pretty awesome.